All right. So welcome. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all of you that are live. And for those of you that are going to be seeing this in the future, welcome to Tuesdays with Peter. And that's me, Peter. So I'm Peter J. Redding. I am a master coach. I'm a master coach trainer. I'm a master coach mentor. And so what we're going to be reviewing today is a part of a book that I wrote back in 2008, published 2009. We are super honored to have Jeff Bowe join us today, who wrote the chapter for us today, for this chapter. And so we're bringing him in formally here in a few minutes. But let me just introduce you to here we go. Week 14 of Positively Brilliant Self-Mastery by Peter J. Redding. That's me. All right. So I'm going to read this from my small version here because it's just a fantastic quote that comes from Patanjali. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. From like 100 to 300 years before Christ. I mean, so truth is truth is truth. It doesn't necessarily change. And what he wrote about, my sense, or what I hold as a life purpose, is when you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all your thoughts break their bounds. Your mind transcends limitation. Your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new, great, and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties, become alive, and you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. That's been my experience in my own life. That's been my experience in working with my world-changing visionaries. That's what I experience with my students that learn how to coach and bring their clients to a new way of knowing themselves. So this particular section, in section 4, okay, so this, I'm back to the book now, and I take this verbatim. This is exactly what I wrote back in 2008. In section 4, doing your innate life purpose, you are guided towards knowing, living, and celebrating your innate life purpose. My innate life purpose is an endowment from my divine source. I experience deep inner satisfaction when I consciously remember and live in alignment with my innate life purpose. What am I doing? Well, doing your innate life purpose is an expression of your divine nature through your human nature. My human nature is curious, industrious, and desirous of connection. My human nature likes the act of doing, but not all doing is as satisfying and fulfilling to my divine nature. This section 4 explores the following questions. What is an innate life purpose? Number 2, whose purpose are you currently living? 3, is your doingness rooted in your divine nature? 4, is your doingness rooted in what others have told you is important for you to be doing? Principle 14 out of the 21, so this puts us like about the 2/3 mark of the book, reads, your innate life purpose is an endowment from your divine source. In other words, if I interpret this in terms of how I mean this, is that it was there at birth. It's there now. It'll be there till you die. And you have a free will to either follow that, know that, live in alignment with that, or not, or to some degree. Yeah. So talk a little bit more about what is in this particular chapter, and then we're going to go to Jeff, who's standing by from Oahu, Hawaii, early morning, and we'll bring him in a minute. So, your innate life purpose and endowment from your divine source. The quote that I love, and you know how much I love quotes, comes from Ronald Reagan, right? Previous president of the United States, previous actor, actually quite well-known actor before becoming very political. He says, "I know in my heart that man is good, that what is right will always eventually triumph, and that there is purpose and worth to each and every life." So rich, poor, white, black, educated, not educated, male, female, whoever that individual, human, amazing being is, he's saying that every single life has a purpose. Every single one. Not just celebrities, not just presidents, not just coaches, not just people that have gone through and gotten an education at the higher level degrees. Every human being has a purpose, and it's fundamentally good. Love that quote. Your innate life purpose is a second endowment from your divine source. The first one was your core values. The second one that we're talking about in this section is your life purpose. Your innate life purpose is held as part of your divine nature. Your innate life purpose is the mother lode of foundational self-discovery. This is the holy grail for every human to discover for himself or herself. And this single question, what is my purpose, has weighed heavily on all who seek it. Think of this as a divine contract that you are here on earth to fulfill. In turn, by fulfilling your innate life purpose, you are fulfilled down to the very core of your positively brilliant self. Might say down to your soul, down to the innermost part of you. And by the way, we all have an innate life purpose. It is also your divine right to know your own innate life purpose. I have seen how these I have supported to rediscover their innate life purpose have taken on new meaning and, in some cases, a new life focus. Your divine nature can only express itself in this physical world through you as part of your human nature. Your human nature so wants and needs a purpose that without knowing your own innate life purpose, your humanness has gravitated to purposes that have been handed to you by others throughout your life. You have been told in varying ways throughout life, quote, your purpose as a child is to ... whatever that might have been. Your purpose here at work is to, and then again, fill in the blank. Well, these other purposes have satisfied your ego and have fulfilled your time and filled your time. They cannot fulfill your divine nature's innate life purpose. Okay, so there's a major distinction here between your core life purpose and the purposes that other people have told you or you have adapted or adopted. Basically, bottom line. Could it be me? Jeff Bowe. All right, so let me bring Jeff into this. And let me get my screen here so that we can be featured. There you go. Welcome, Jeff from Hawaii.
Good
Aloha.
morning. Aloha. Good morning, Peter. Thank you for having me.
I'm so thrilled that you're here. So thrilled. So I'm going to let you read this. You can read it from the screen if you'd like, or you can read it from the transcript that Cello sent you. Either way, but it's all yours, buddy. It's all yours.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. I thought that being a rebel and looking for causes to channel my anger were in some weird way my quest to help others. This only left me frustrated and unheard. With no clear direction on what my life purpose was, I thrived on making others happy. I had no time for myself or others close to me and knew this unbalanced life would eventually destroy me. The foundations that I thought were my supports eventually disappeared, and I was left feeling lost, afraid, and unwanted. However, I ultimately knew inside there was something more than my circumstance. As my life purpose unfolded and I began to understand my connection with the divine, my ability to communicate and connect through the divine began to flourish. I started to see the divine in everyone and everything and embodied in the concept that we are one. I realized that previously I had created a separation that was never really there. My life purpose. I'm here to share with you the gifts that we all have and to unfold these treasures each and every day and be in awe of our uniqueness and beauty. We are inseparable, fluid and flowing. We are one. Now, when I begin to feel unbalanced or if I'm looking at a new project, I reflect back to my life purpose and use that as my guide and reminder. I now make a decision based on how it serves my life purpose and life's work, using me as a conduit to the divine. My life's work allows me to make a positive impact on someone's life every day. Now, when I work through my life purpose, I am happy and satisfied and at peace.
Wow. Stunningly beautiful. So the questions on the table for us today is, what does your innate life, what does your inner voice keep calling you to do and contribute? What is being revealed? Now, this is for you, the audience, for everyone to be considering, because that question, I believe, is always there. And it's the voice of that life purpose that may not be being satisfied, may not be being satiated, may not be relevant in your life. So with that, Jeff, how does that ring for you today as you read that after, let's see, this is 2008, so 9, 10, 11, 12. This is like 12 years ago now. Holy cow, or 14 years ago. Whew, even more.
Woohoo!
So as you reread that, are you prepared for today? Does it still resonate? Does it still ring true? Does it still, or has there been changes or other inner guidance that comes through that's stronger, better articulated than that beautiful statement you just read?
I love that. And it still rings absolutely 100% true to today. And what I love is, as you were doing the introduction and reading, what came to my mind was how much of my core values and the foundation of what I do in my life coaching business is still relevant from even, way back when I started part 1 of Coach for Life. And the life purpose part of that, as we had had a brief discussion before we went on air, it is so true. And still from that part 1, my life purpose remains the same. In fact, I have that on my website as prominent, and it's the foundation of everything that I do now.
Wow. And how much earlier was it that you went through part 1, just out of curiosity? Because I honestly don't remember.
I think it was around 2003 or 2001. I'm not sure, because I did 2 parts. I did the part 1, part 2, and the master's program too. So it's around that time frame, somewhere in there. I'm not sure, but it's been a while.
So you're talking more than 20 years now. And it's as
Absolutely.
true today as it was on not the first day. I think we did it like second or third day of that first training. That's amazing. And again, it's one of the questions I get asked a lot is, once I have articulated my life purpose statement in a formal way that we go through, does it change? And what you're saying is no.
For me, it has not.
Yeah.
And it was amazing because as that came from, definitely from the divine, as that part one exercise that we did. I have no idea where that came from. I just wrote it out, spit it out, and it's always resonated with me. And I think it was helpful because it put into words what I was searching for all this time. And as I was reading what I had written in 2008, it was pretty amazing to read that again. And it's still, it applies today as it did, back when I did it in 2001 or around that time frame. And even when I wrote it in again in 2008 for your book.
Wow. 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 Well, it's great seeing you. It's great catching up. It's great focusing on your life purpose and the work that you do. Can you share a little bit about what you're doing now in terms of, the outside world sees Jeff doing what? And how does that connect or relate, if at all, to your life purpose?
So I still, my main focus is life coaching. And even when I started off my coaching practice back in 2001, 2003, I specialized in business coaching, but life coaching as the foundational basis of all my coaching. And it still has not changed. I've added some things to my coaching practice. I use a lot more intuition. I use a little bit of Hawaiian healing techniques and other things, integrated into it. But still, I always credit the foundation of what I do to the life coaching.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And how does that fulfill your life purpose?
Oh, in a great way. In a great way. I think the life purpose statement is, for me personally, it's a guiding force, and it has always been. And knowing how that life purpose came to me through the divine straight, and it is the foundation of everything I do, just as a conduit of the work that I do. And the life purpose is just like the guiding light and a reminder of that directional force.
Yeah. That I very much resonate with that. Now, I'm speaking about autobiographically here. Sometimes I forget. and so it's become here. I'm going to use an analogy. Pilots that fly airplanes, right, have beacons out there in terms of a directional. Okay, so I'm going, to Boston, or I'm going to Honolulu, or I'm going to Korea, or I'm going wherever.
Right.
And so they use that as they're flying. But if you've heard any pilot talk about, they're saying, 80% of the time I'm not exactly on that beam. It's like I'm just to the right, I'm just to the left. But it continues to be that beacon that I'm aiming at. If I use that as a metaphor for life purpose, then sometimes I forget that, okay, so that's my life purpose. And so then I get distracted, or I get pulled over because of human conditioning or old conditioning, and I go, oh, this looks nice and shiny. So, I might follow this path for a bit. And then it's like, wake up and it's like, well, that's not feeling right. So I come back to the GPS, the inner GPS. So my question after all of that kind of intro is, how do you get back to that? How do you remember? How do you reinforce? Yeah, this is the path I'm meant to be on.
That's a great question. I think our humanness, sometimes we get distracted, like you said, like, oh, here's a shiny object. That's kind of great. But my belief too is that it has become, I want to use the word innate, but it's just become a part of me. So I think it's having the awareness. And for me personally, when I have that awareness that I'm off track, the tendency is to just realign and refocus and get in touch. And also for me, that's being in nature. So when I go and I go to the beach, I'm amongst the trees and again, outdoors or in the sun. And for me, that's my connection to divine source and nature. So it's a reminder of, it grounds me. I guess that's a good way of saying it. It's getting grounded again, getting back to the foundation, the core of who I really am. Because it's easy in life to get distracted, whether, as I did, I got divorced too. So, sometimes it can get sidetracked with life events. And I think that for me, it's having the awareness, and it really helps to, when I have that awareness, to get reconnected.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's similar, I think, in my experience. It becomes easier for me over time because it gets reinforced that when I get feelings in my body, or there's things that go, okay, so this, when it's congruent, let me put it this way, when it's congruent for me, I feel really good about me and about what I'm up to, the work I'm doing. When I'm not feeling good about myself, or I'm not feeling good about my work, or I'm having thoughts of, I don't really want to be here, or really don't want to be doing this. Those are kind of like the inner signals that go, yeah, I've strayed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not on my journey. I'm not in my lane of what I'm here to contribute. It may be important work to do. But one of my favorite questions that I've shared now multiple times on this channel is, is it my work to do? Or maybe this is Jeff's work to do. Maybe this is Sunny's work to do. Maybe this is Vivek's work to do. But when I'm doing my work, when I'm contributing in the manner that I think that I have been created to bring forth, flow through me, then it's like I feel energized. I feel excited. I may be exhausted at the end of the day, but it's an exhaustion of, yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Right.
I've done what I'm meant to be doing. So, and I hear a lot of that in yours, as far as, and the methodology, again, that I share with you is nature. I just love trees. I love water. And so when I am amongst the ancients, the trees that have been around for, 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, it's like, there's so much that I get reconnected in terms of, it's not about this particular thing today that's bugging me. I live in a broader, more expansive world, and that helps to ground. I like that word. It literally grounds me, roots me back to who I'm supposed to be. What would you say to people that don't know their life purpose, or at least haven't been able to articulate it the way that you have so eloquently articulated it?
Take Coach for Life training.
That is not
for me, that was a pivotal moment in my life. And so I have to say it was, in fact, even as you were talking, it reminded me of something. And I remember during the Coach for Life training about how when we get off track we allow ourselves to be, whether it's frustration, where it's anger, and then we just look at it through solutions rather than looking at the problem, right? We're finding solutions. Being positive doesn't mean that we're a doormat or, and so sometimes it's just being patient and knowing and trying different things. And as we evolve and our level of consciousness grows in vibration, I believe that also, so does our life purpose at times. For me, it's been pretty much the same. Although I get bored easily. So sometimes for me, it's breaking the routine. So, for people out there who are still searching for their life purpose, we have maybe look at the routine that you're in and try to change something up so that it can be a catalyst for maybe sparking that divine in you and sparking that life purpose. And it could be a book, it could be something new, it could be starting a podcast or trying something different that may all of a sudden give you that aha moment, and then your life purpose is streamed, through the divine to you.
Mm, 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 mm. Love that. Love that. Yeah, I think Joseph Campbell was onto something when he said, follow your bliss. If it feels good, keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely right.
If it doesn't feel good, then stop.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's a simplistic way of, does this feel good inside or not, or to what degree?
Yes.
Yeah, love that. Love that. You talked earlier about intuition and using that in your work. You want to share a little bit more about how you do that, or how you developed your sense of intuition?
Yeah, I know that was that also was, again, I want to go back to Coach for Life. It's one of our foundational things about exploring that. But in my practice, more and more and more, I've learned to trust that. And to the degree where sometimes I may even get pictures or images as I'm talking with someone. And I try to share that objectively and just share what I see. And if it resonates, it resonates. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I think more than not, that it's such a powerful tool to be able to use that skill and connect with your client or someone and get information, right?
Mhm.
Get information that otherwise is not spoken, or it could just be a sense of energy, and you're using your intuition, reading energy without any words being said.
And do you believe everybody has that, or has a capacity for that, what we refer to as intuition or gut feel?
Absolutely, 100%. I believe everybody has it. And the Hawaiian culture, they call it na'au, or our stomach. And I believe, I've heard that the na'au, or our stomach, or where our intuition is formed, is the only part of our body or organ that can think independently of our brain. So a lot of times our intuition will advise us earlier than we could even think of it, faster, quicker, and more accurately than our mind can produce a thought.
Wow. Wow. I too agree with all of that. It's unexplainable. It's like, I'm not sure what this has to do with what we're talking about, but somehow energetically, ethereally, the connection has this thing going off. And as a professional coach, we have an obligation to actually use our intuition. It's one of the first professions in the world that I know of that actually encourage coaches in the early competencies. I'm talking about competencies that were created back in 1998, 1999, that said, use your intuition and don't be tied to it. It's not that it makes it right for the client, but trust your intuition, present your intuition, and allow the client to, does it fit for me or not fit for me? Does it work for me? Does it apply to me? Maybe it's a gardener outside that's, doing tree trimming, who knows? Mm-hmm. But to be brave enough to present that in a coaching session and allow the client and then decide, oh, wow, yeah, there's something deeper here for me. Or I don't think that it really applies to me, Peter. So, okay, we'll move on.
And I like what you just said is trusting that. It took me a while. It took me a while to really trust and own it. And so over time, I think I've gotten better at it. And I just, it's a constant practice to use that skill. But I think it's been one of the most powerful skills that I continually use and develop.
Super. Yeah, congratulations. Well done. Anything else that you want to share about this particular story that resonates in a new way for you at this stage of life, or this stage of, 14, what did we say it was 14 years later?
Yeah. I think, because I also run across a lot of people that are searching for their life purpose, and I think be patient. I think I would say be patient and try different things, and and sooner or later you'll find it. You'll get on course, to where you are. Sometimes we get distracted in our humanness of life and the doingness of life. And if we could use a little more time to dedicate to the beingness, like I think you had touched upon that a little earlier, is that if we can work on the beingness, we could be more in alignment with the path, and that life purpose will naturally unfold.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I think the other belief that's grown for me as well along those lines is that the innate life purpose that I refer to, and I think is available and accessible by all human beings, is fundamentally good. It's kind of like going back to the Ronald Reagan quote, man, not male, but mankind, humankind, each of us are fundamentally created by our creator in a affirmative, loving, life affirmative basis. I don't believe a child is born as a demon. I just don't believe that.
I agree.
They may become that, but I believe that that is assimilated in the human form. But fundamentally, the innateness of a life purpose is fundamentally life affirming. And so, and maybe there's even a first step that I didn't talk about in the book of actually believing that I have a life purpose, as opposed to a life sentence.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
That was generated in childhood, likely, or the upbringing, or the abuse, or all the things that tragically can happen to a human soul as they come into this planet. It's not all a friendly place. But fundamentally, just the belief that there's something that is innately life affirming in me, and there always has been, there is now. I may not be living according to that, and always will be. And so my job as a human being is to connect with that, is to nurture that, is to articulate that, is to, like you say, align, my life with that on an ongoing basis, to contribute what I'm here to contribute. So maybe there's a new chapter.
Yeah.
First of all, I'll have to believe that, I too, being a human, have this inside of me, whether I know or can articulate it now or not. That's the next step.
Yeah. And what I heard you say resonates with me too, is that, sometimes we get sidetracked by our circumstances, whatever is going on in our immediate world, and we forget or lose sight of that. But I agree with you that I think it's something that is innate in us. And I think we all start off with, the Hawaiians call it a bowl of light. We come into this world with a bowl of light filled with light. And as we go through life, pohaku, or stones, are put into this bowl of light. So our light gets a little dimmer, and we have to just refocus on this bowl of light and start to take the pohaku or the rocks out so that our light can shine again. And I think within that bowl of light comes our life purpose innately, in some shape or form or energy, or however we identify with it.
Beautiful. So beautiful. One of the things I'm getting more and more attracted to are the original citizens of the world. The original natives, the native indigenous peoples of wherever, whether it's Australia or America or Hawaii or China or wherever, or India. They've been doing a lot of work in India. There's so much vast wisdom that has been ignored, overlooked, forgotten about. And I think there's a common theme and story through that, as far as the goodness of mankind, humankind. Yeah. And whether they call it a life purpose or not is, why am I here? What am I here to contribute?
I love that. And I agree. I also resonate with that. And, before Hawaii was overthrown, they actually never capitalized the word. Keakua means God. in Hawaii, and they never capitalized it because they believed that there was no separation. It was all part of one. And so I love how you just mentioned about indigenous cultures and, that really resonates with me.
I never knew that about the capitalization of the word God or divine or what have you. And it's really interesting that the ancient peoples of Hawaii said, yeah, I am part of that. I am one with that. There's no reason to, it's not above me necessarily, So yeah, just amazing. Let's open this up to, we've got some of our regulars up here. I see Sunny, Sunny Smile, and Jen and Vivek and Charles. I'm going to open up to any of you that have questions for Jeff and want to probe into part of his beautiful nature, Hawaiian nature, master coachness, just awesome human being. Awesome leadership coach, awesome whatever. So any comments or questions?
Peter, I think we have a question from Jen on the chat box.
Oh, Jen, do you want to read that out for us? So let me highlight you here.
Sure. So I liked what you were sharing with regards to being in the beingness. So I was asking for how can we be more in the beingness? Do you have suggestions and thoughts?
Is that for Peter or me?
No, it's for you. I'm sorry. You I'm on my phone, so I apologize. I can't see titles for some strange reason.
No problem.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, sorry, Jeff. I apologize.
Oh, no problem at all. For me, I think that is having the awareness. And right now, as you speak, you have the awareness. So a lot of times we get caught up in the doingness. So if we have that awareness, we could change that and start to focus on, how do we connect to your source of divine presence, whatever that might be. And if you don't have a source of divine presence, whatever your core values would be, whatever you believe in. But, as we learned in Coach for Life, is what we focus on expands. So if we bring attention to that beingness, then we could grow it. And we could start to look at, and not also that, as we do that, the laws of attraction will come into place, and more you will start to see things and notice things with the beingness in your life. That's just my opinion.
I like that. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
I have another question, but I'm going to let the floor be, because Peter did open it up to your master coachingness, which very dangerous, Peter. But I'm sure anybody else has a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and ask it.
What?
Go ahead and ask it.
Okay. So when you have clients that are, I feel like anything I'm going to say is going to sound like a judgment, so I don't know how to say it properly. So I'm just going to say it and then you interpret it however. They're not showing up for themselves. They're not doing the work. They might be missing, appointments. And they're just overwhelmed by probably the doingness of life. Like, is there guidance, or like, how do you handle that? Jeff, I'm just curious, because it's something that I have been struggling with, because on one hand, the coach, has to detach from the outcome, and it's the client knows best. But on the other hand, I feel like we're there to coach them and support them and encourage them. So I'm torn.
I think for things that I have done is one, the discussion that Peter and I had a little earlier is follow your intuition, because every coach will be different. And for me, one of the things I believe, and part of our coaching commitment, is to be completely honest. And I think that's one of the things we have the client sign off on. So sometimes it takes, when I started my coaching practice, I specialized in business coaching with leadership, owners, CEOs, and all that. And they're tough people. they're not used to having questions. And so one of the things too is ask better questions. Ask the hard questions. And when we ask the hard questions that a lot of times other people wouldn't ask, but in a master level coaching situation, that's the skill, right? We ask better questions. We ask the harder questions. We ask direct questions, but while being respectful, but still getting to the truth and questioning whether or not what they're doing or what their intent is truly in alignment with what their goals are. Not the goals as us as a coach, but what they're looking to. So we remind them what in an objective way, what their goals were and their current actions. How is it aligning with what they're doing in order to get them to where they want to be?
Thank you, Jeff. That helps.
Well, you're welcome.
I like that a lot, actually. The more masterful coach, I think, is one that is willing to challenge them honorably.
Yeah, that's the fine line that I am going to have to work on stepping into gracefully.
Yeah.
I'm good at challenging the graceful part.
Well, may I share, Jen, may I share an example?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I was working with a doctor in Los Angeles, and I had to be honest and forthright with her. And so I made a statement. And so our next session after that, 2 weeks later, she said, I was really mad at you for, I basically called her out on her own, her own actions. And she didn't like that. And I said, something? I said, you don't pay me to patronize you. You pay me to be honest. You pay me to be a coach. You pay me to, help you get to where you want to be. And this is something that I had to be honest with you. And, we continued coaching for years and years and years. But sometimes, when I started with coaching, it's a scary skill. But as we get into the master coaching levels, our clients expect that from us. Our clients expect accountability. Our clients expect, in my experience, this is what they want. They want someone who can hold them accountable on the level that they're at.
Well said. Well said.
How would you handle a client that leans on, like, they go ahead, they hire you, they want to do the work, they show up, and then they keep getting sick, right? So if it's not an autoimmune disorder that's popping up, they're traveling a lot, they're getting COVID, and they're constantly in this, headspace where they're overwhelmed because they don't feel well, and they don't want to show up for themselves. Like, I mean, besides giving them a break and saying, maybe you need to take some time off because you're asking for it, what else would you do in terms of asking, the honest question? Because, like, I hear you and I want to say, like, what are you hiding from? But that doesn't sound very graceful.
Well, for me, I think that it's helping to connect the dots and trying to connect their actions with the results. And so it may be if they're getting sick, there's, from my experience in the healing part of the business that I do, is that if there's emotional things that's unaddressed or, hasn't been taken care of, then it'll manifest itself physically. It'll manifest itself in different ways. And sometimes we have to say, maybe you need some psychological help or something. Maybe there's somebody else that can help you in addition to coaching that can help you better. Or, but it's reminding them also of their innate power, I believe, like Peter had mentioned, because I think we get sidetracked and sometimes circumstances dictate how people make choices. And sometimes what I found is a lot of times they're making choices on something based on what they have, happened when they were 6 years old or teenagers, or, somebody said something to them. So as a coach, it's trying to get that, really ask better questions, ask deeper questions, and really get to the core of what's affecting their actions. At least that's been my experience in coaching. And so it's not always an easy answer because every client is different. And I remember one of the things I love about the coaching process and going through that certification was when the client didn't know, we learned this in Coach for Life, is asking, well, what if you did know? And that in itself, that question is amazing how powerful it becomes.
There's two pieces to this that I can contribute, I think, and that is number one, the master coach holds a space that this is a whole perfect and complete human being in front of me. Number two is the willingness to call them, as Jeff says, on their stuff. So what part are you playing in terms of being sickly? What part are you playing in terms of not getting cooperation at work? What do you need to change? And those are prickly things because no one has ever presented them with those kinds of questions at the level these people are operating at. They're not used to being challenged. They're not used to being called on as far as, you know, self-responsibility. And it's also, again, in the arena of, I'm not here to tell you, I'm not here to judge you. This is just my observations after listening to you for the last 6 months. You show up late at every single session that we have by at least 10 minutes. So where else in your life is that happening? What's your role in that? Or not? They can say, yeah, that's my practice. Everybody knows it. It's kind of like the reverse of Lombardi time, which is, you know, be here 15 minutes early. If you're here 14 minutes early, then you're late. But it has to come from a place of compassion and passion as a coach. If there's any judgment in that in terms of you're not being a good client, you're not being a good human being, you're expecting other people to make your life easier, you got to drop all of those judgments for the client. And it starts with dropping all those same judgments about yourself. So again, we go full circle into self-mastery here.
That's great insight.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Jeff and Peter.
Yeah,
You're
very welcome.
And also, can I add one more thing, Jen? That I think words are very powerful. So is helping the client to, again, be that sounding board and reflecting back on what they're saying to themselves. And that the other thing too is, I don't know, I'll just share with you my experience. Charge more. Charge more. Because this has been my experience, my personal experience. So I don't know how it worked for other people, but when you charge more, they show up on time. So I use this example a lot of times for people, not in the coaching business, but other things as well. I said, if you charge $20 for your session, I'm making it up, right? Someone can easily say, oh, I can afford $20. That's okay. I'm going to show up late, even if she cancels me or whatever. When you get up there in the master coaching levels and you're charging the price that, is worthy of your experience and skill level and everything, they will not cancel a meeting. They will not. They will be there on time. They'll show up on time, and they're going to want it because for them, time is money. And that's been my experience. So.
Love that one, Jeff. I love that one.
Honestly, it was actually my first thought. I was like, I'm not charging enough because they're not respecting me. They're not respecting themselves. They want this, but they half-ass want it. So I completely hear you.
Time to double your fee. And we're moving on. Thanks, Jen. Sonny, I see you smiling up broadly there. Is there anything that you'd like to ask or contribute?
Very interesting conversation, and thank you, Jeff. I have one comment which I kind of discovered in my session. So maybe on that, what you think? Because finally, the fruits which are doing things, I felt that unless all of them kind of are ripe and move to the A list, or I'm using all of them, that gives me an indication that I am on the right track in terms of my life purpose. Would you say something like this? And it's kind of related to those shiny objects which come once in a while to distract you. And if this is a way, or there are other ways to kind of know that, okay, even though that shiny object gives you some happiness, it is not that real bliss which is through your life purpose.
So
Sunny,
what's the question, Sunny, out of all of that?
Okay, the question is that how do you come to know that the shiny object is not going to give you that bliss which your life purpose gives?
Got it.
And what are ways you have seen over years to figure that out?
well, for me, I think that go play with the shiny object for a little while and see how it resonates with you, or see what meaning does it have in your life. It's interesting. The Japanese have this saying, don't just fall down. And they have that saying that says, when you get up, pick something up as you get up. In other words, grab something of value as you're getting up. Don't just fall down. And so I forgot the Japanese words for it, but so they have this saying. And so the shiny object for me is not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes we need a break in what we do. And I think what you'll discover whether or not that's going to be a part of your life purpose or resonate with you, and how deep. So sometimes the distraction can be a good thing. Sometimes it will lead us to another place in our life. Sometimes it will lead us to our life purpose, or not.
What I heard in that parable is, if you're falling down, i.e., after a shiny object, bring back some learning from it. Does that resonate with you, or to what degree does that resonate with you, Sunny, in terms of your experience?
It does, and I'm wondering, what is your way to kind of give yourself a place where you can know how you're feeling? So how do you come to know that you've fallen and not spend much time in that state?
That's a great question.
It is a great question.
And
I'm gonna let Jeff answer it too. Yeah.
For me, it's are you happy? It's asking the question, are you happy? And then also, if you have that awareness that you're in that state, is again, for me, I would say connect to your source of divine presence, whatever that may be, and reconnect.
Nice. So what are you hearing? What are you hearing, Sunny, out of that for you? How does it land for you?
Always have a coach, and better if it's a CFA.
Yeah.
Have a coach. Yeah, there's some wisdom. Yeah, exactly.
I think because it allows me to introspect or be in that space to hear myself. So either it's whatever allows me to do that, be with myself at some regular intervals, if not a coach, seclusion, or just hear myself. What am I really feeling?
And Sunny, another thing that I've learned in Coach for Life is our inner child, or the Hawaiians call it unihipili, letting our inner child come out and play. Sometimes we can be so serious in life and so much in the beingness too, that we kind of get burnt out. And so it's having fun along the way and making sure we're happy and playful. And I remember Peter and Marcia reading children's book in part one, Coach. I was like, what? Why are they reading a kid? I'm over here. I want to be a serious life coach, and they're reading a children's book. And I thought, okay, it makes sense. I get it. By the end of that whole training and thing, I understood that. I think that's such an important part of our life. We forget how to have fun whatever that might be for you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Great
I've
reminder.
taken one more cue from you that I'll be speaking Sanskrit or Hindi words so beautifully you imbibe that native language. So thank you for that as well.
I love it.
Fabulous. Thank you, Sonny. We got Charles and Vivek that have been standing by. If either one of you like to say, we got about 4 minutes remaining here. Any words of wisdom, or Vivek? Yeah, you've unmuted yourself.
I'm going to hand it over to Charles. It's a good day to listen for me today.
Oh, okay. All right.
I had unmuted myself to hand myself over to you, Vivek. So you weren't here last week, but okay, I'll take it. Thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
The story and your answers to the questions, and Jen. This has been a fascinating session for me. A couple of reasons. Peter, thank you for providing this example of bringing all your co-authors, your contributors into this format. I mean, it's given me a whole new perspective on how to share a lot of the content that I've been coalescing and curating. But the last few weeks, I've been focusing on international activities and initiatives. I've been spending maybe 10 to 20 hours a week in Humanity Rising. Jen, there was a great session on Viennese a few days ago from an author, and I think he's in Switzerland, beautiful stuff. And yesterday, a presenter from Sweden and Ukraine who's developed the interdevelopmental goals, and they've trained 70,000 people, and they've gotten all these grants. And Ubiquity University has distilled thousands of hours of research and come up with soft skills. And I'm in the chat all the time. CoreSELFtech.com, 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 because all of those are apparently could utilize your expertise, all of you, not just those who are on this call today, but everyone who's been blessed with Coach for Life. So there is an upcoming World Peace of Unity that begins June the 18th through the 25th. It launches 99 days of peace through unity that culminates in the 40th annual celebration of World Peace, International Peace Day. So I'm seriously considering sponsoring a room, having a room with up to 16 hours of content during that week. And I'm going to invite Peter Redding and a couple of volunteers, maybe from this session, to share in maybe 90 minutes, probably CoreSELFie, the introduction to CoreSELFie and how it has helped you in your personal and corporate coaching practices, and how it might be applied to planet Earth. So be prepared, Peter J. Redding, that's coming your way. Thank you for this opportunity. Vivek, come on, share your brilliance.
He's allocated 1 minute to you, Vivek.
I don't know what to say. Ask a question, Charles. I mean, make it easy on you, buddy.
No, that was it. You are the answer to any question I would ask. You are the essence. You are the representation of practicing Coach for Life and blessing many others. So thank you for that. You can just stay silent.
So now you only have 30 seconds.
So let's have 30 seconds of silence.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but clients have different languages, and I'm sort of responding to Jen's question and Jeff, your answer. I had a client tell me today we have weekly sessions, and he says, by the way, thanks for the whipping you gave me the last week. So I said, what he termed as whipping was being asked these really tough questions, And at the end of the session, he says, I look forward to more whipping because you woke me up. I think it's first about establishing that relationship, that rapport and trust with the client. But the second most thing is, does the client believe he is worth his own time?
Wow.
And that's what I fight about. Not fight, but that's what I state. Say, you've got my hour or 2 hours. I don't do timed sessions. I do a session. It may take 30 minutes. It may take 130 minutes. And a session is a session. So I say, I'm in. Do you have time for yourself? What do you want for yourself? What do you want of yourself? Because this is the only time that's purely devoted to you. Everything else is fun with the family, engagement in the office, eating a great meal with people. But this is only about you. So are you worth your time? Because if you're not, then, well, let's go swimming or something. This is not going to cut it.
What a great question.
2 cents.
Thank you, Vivek. That does bring us to the end of our session today. And I want to thank awesome special guest, Jeff. I just love you, Jeff. I just love you. I love the work that you do. I love who you are as a human being, as a fellow man. Been a real privilege to reconnect like this today. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. I love it. I love it. Love you, Peter. And so grateful.
Thank you. Thank you. Come back next week. We're going to be talking about principle number 15 in terms of, again, digging deeper into life purpose. And in the meantime, God bless. Namaste. Be safe. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.